Well, Katie Lee Biegel, welcome to Biscuits and Jam.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
It's great to see you. Where am I reaching you right now?
I am in Southampton. So we're
Okay.
here for the summer and having a great time. I'm looking out at a beautiful sunny day right now.
And a long way from West Virginia. I just want to say at the top that I'm a fan of your podcast.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I love talking to a fellow podcast host, although it's a little intimidating because you've probably done a lot more of these than I have.
Oh, stop. I don't think so. I'm only a year into it, almost a year into it. And I just have such a good time talking to people. I like getting to know people, like getting to know their stories. And a lot of the people that I talk to on the table, because it's a food focused podcast, are my peers who I've had long time relationships with. But I've found that sometimes when you've known someone a long time, there are questions that just don't get brought up that maybe when you're meeting somebody fresh that you would talk about, and learning about friends past and learning about what got them into food, and maybe it was what their first food memory is, but just sharing those and making that connection, because I think food connects people so much. And I look at Southern Living. I'm a lifelong Southern Living fan. I remember my great grandmother would subscribe to it. We all lived in the same neighborhood. She subscribed and then would pass it around the neighborhood of the family members, and the way that those recipes would connect us. And I think that that's such a big part of every culture. And especially in Southern cooking, it's recipes that are passed down. Those are the heirlooms.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find yourself interviewing a lot of people from the South on your show?
I haven't gotten to interview a lot of Southerners. No, I'll tell you who I really want to interview, and I think we're going to make it happen, is Cartier Brown. She is one of
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorite Southern cooks. I follow her on Instagram, and I want to eat everything that she makes.
Yeah, Cartier is fantastic. I've had her on Biscuits and Jam, and we've done a couple of events with her over the years, and she's just such a big personality. She's just, comes from such a culturally rich place, and, her food stories, they just sort of pour out of her.
Yeah. She's an incredible chef.
Well, so are you, and you've been at this for a really long time, and I want to talk about where you came from for a minute and talk about West Virginia. You're from a small town.
Yeah. I'm from Milton, West Virginia. That's where I grew up. It's a town of 2,200 people. And that's where my heart is. That's such a big part of who I am. It's the way that I was raised, and being from a small town, and the sense of community, and just the way that people treated each other with kindness and respect. And so much of my upbringing there was food focused. My grandma was the most incredible cook on the planet that ever lived. I'm sure a lot of people say that about their grandmas, but mine was. And my great aunt Pat, who also lived in our neighborhood, Pat's an amazing cook as well. My great grandmother was in the neighborhood. Pearl was a champion.
What a
angel
great
food.
name.
Oh, great name. She won blue ribbons for her angel food cake. She entered all these contests with her angel food cake, and she would win every contest. She won her washer dryer. She won her stove. She won her KitchenAid mixer. Everything was from that angel food cake. So my grandpa also had an amazing garden, and it was just all very food focused. And we didn't know it at the time, but we were eating what's trendy now. People talk about farm to table. That was the way that we ate. And that was just because that's what people did. And my grandma and Pat would, in the summertime, they'd be canning green beans, canning tomatoes. And my grandma had a room in her basement she called the junk room. And the junk room was like a big closet, and it was kind of cold in there and real dark. And that's where she kept all of her cans. So all those mason jars full of everything that my grandpa had gardened and harvested would go down to the junk room. And then there was also the big coffin freezer with all the meat in it. And so that's what we ate out of.
Wow.
She'd say, "Go down to the junk room and get me a can of green beans."
What was your grandmother's name?
Dora.
Dora. I mean, these
Uh-huh.
names, Dora and Pearl. I love it.
Great names, great. Oh, my grandpa, he had all the best names on his side with the women. It was like, or no, I'm sorry, my grandma's side, Lakey, Laney, and then my grandpa's side had Vivian and who was it? There was one that made the chicken and dumplings that was so good. I think that was Petunia. I mean, it was like all these great names. And then he had the men were Thurman and Delmas Jr.
Delmas.
Yes, great names.
Oh, those are the best.
Uh-huh.
So Katie, you've been on this show, The Kitchen, for what, 10, 11 years now?
It's been 11 and a half years now, which is crazy. I mean, it's like dinosaur amount of time.
Well, in
TV.
television years, that's like a century.
Yes, yes. So I hold my breath every time waiting for a pickup because you just never know in this business.
Well, so it's called The Kitchen. I want you to tell me about the kitchen that you grew up in, the one that is really kind of seared in your memory. And it might have been in your house or it might have been your grandmother's house, but kind of paint a picture for me of what that looked like.
Oh, that's such a great question. I've never thought about the connection of the kitchen, the show, and then the kitchen of growing up, because it is such a big part of, I think, a part of everybody in their history. And I think that's why we called the show The Kitchen, because everybody wants to just be in the kitchen. You know, when you have a party or you have people over, you just want to hang out in the kitchen. And that was certainly the way that I grew up. So the kitchen that I remember the most is my grandma's, because she was my babysitter. And my mom and I would go over there. My mom was a school teacher. We would go over almost every evening for dinner. We'd go to my grandma's. I tell my mom now how lucky she was. She didn't have to think about what was for dinner. We just showed up and somebody fed us. Somebody fed us great food. But I would hang out in there, and my grandma was just such a good cook. She wasn't measuring. Even when she would make biscuits, it was her hand going into the flour and scooping it out. And everything she made, she had the touch. That's what she called it. She said, people who can cook have the touch, and she really had the touch. So I just think of my best memories in there when we had holidays. It was always a buffet, just go in and serve yourself. And then there was a kitchen table, and that's where the kids sat. So the kids sat at the kitchen table, the grown-ups sat in the dining room. And I loved sitting at that kitchen table with my cousins. We had so much fun. And then on weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, my grandma always cooked a big breakfast. And my aunt and uncle would come over. My mom and I would be there. The grown-ups would be drinking their coffee. And I liked to kind of linger and listening to what they were talking about and hearing the inside scoop of life. And she'd make biscuits and gravy, or she'd make a big stack of pancakes. The food was just excellent. And it was this feeling of warmth, and it wasn't fancy at all. It was a real humble kitchen, but man, that was the best place.
So I think of, this part of West Virginia being kind of Appalachia. And I'm wondering if you feel a connection to kind of Appalachian traditions and Appalachian food and cooking.
I do. I think that Appalachia is very distinct and has its own traditions and its own kind of cuisine. I loved growing up. One of my favorite meals was a bowl of pinto beans, some kind of greens, whether it was collard, kale, dandelion greens, any of those that she'd cook, fried potatoes, and cornbread. So we had homemade cornbread almost every single night. There was a new batch of cornbread made, and it was the tangy cornbread, not sweet cornbread. So buttermilk. And she would heat up the cast iron skillet and pour the cornbread batter in there so it would get real crispy, and bake that. And then we'd have chow chow and like all the good Appalachian food. One recipe that I really loved that stood out to me was baked steak and gravy. And that's a very traditional Appalachian dish.
Baked steak and gravy.
Baked steak and gravy. So it's a cube steak. So like an eye
Ah,
round that gets put in the tenderizer. You dredge it in flour and then fry it up, make a gravy, and then bake it for about 2 hours. And it's so tender, it just falls apart. So that was a recipe I loved with mashed potatoes. But I think it was really just so much about homemade food and using what they had. And my grandparents both grew up without a lot of money. My grandma was very poor growing up. So I think that it was about saving. And she called them Logan County burgers because she was from Logan County, West Virginia. And it was, very poor rural area. So she called her burgers Logan County burgers because she'd make them so thin to stretch the meat. And they were delicious. And she put them on white bread. I mean, really, it was a patty melt, white bread with American cheese and that thin little burger patty. Now, fast forward in 2008, the first New York City Food and Wine Burger Bash, I entered those burgers into the contest and made them. I made 1,500 Logan County
oh my
burgers
gosh.
and I won. So I love that I won with her poor little burger. And I was against these chefs. They were chefs that put foie gras on their burgers, all this stuff. And it just goes to show that down home cooking rules every time.
I mean, that is the best.
Yes,
I mean, I don't know if she was around at that point.
She
but
was.
She
Yeah.
was. So she
I
got
was able to tell her.
she got to celebrate that with you. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I was so stunned when I won that contest. And it was actually kind of scandalous in the food world. New York Magazine did a story on were these really burgers because it was on white bread. I was like, come on, people. But it actually kind of catapulted my career to have won the contest and to have had the press around it, the controversy. So it was those burgers. That's what did it.
Oh, that's the best. We've got to track down that recipe, Katie.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
You go to college at Miami University.
In Ohio, yes.
And in Ohio. And I'm wondering if that was a big kind of leap for you coming from a small town.
Yeah, it was different. And it was the first time I'd left home. And Miami is in a small town as well. It's in Oxford, Ohio, but Oxford was certainly bigger than where I was from. And it was right outside of Cincinnati. We thought of Cincinnati as really being the big city. And I was nervous to leave home, but I really thrived. And I think that my mom made me feel confident that I could do it. And during that time, I did a study abroad in Italy, which really changed my life as well. I think that that was really important.
Yeah, you were in Florence, right?
Yes, I was in Florence, and that just furthered my interest in the culinary arts. And it was a great experience. Yeah, I studied journalism and pursued writing. And I think like getting out of your comfort zone is always a good thing. And that's something now as an adult I try to do as often as possible to push myself to not always be comfortable.
I studied in Florence too, by the way.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh,
and it
cool.
really, and I ended up minoring in Italian, and I've forgotten all of it.
Wow.
But
Wow.
yeah, that was for a kid from Memphis, that was a pretty big adventure, and
It is.
yeah, to see a place that's so old and so steeped in culture and just and the food culture there is just
Yeah.
obviously.
And your eyes open that there's this whole big world out there.
Yeah, yeah. You've always been interested in journalism and writing, and you studied that in school. And I mean, you've written a novel, and you're a storyteller, and then you've also got this interest in cooking and food. And I'm wondering when you kind of figured out that those were connected.
I'll tell you, I figured it out in college. I started reading food magazines like Gourmet and Food and Wine. And and that was also the time that Sex and the City got popular. And I was watching Sex and the City, and Carrie was a columnist, And I thought, what if I could write about food? I love food, and I could be like Carrie Bradshaw in New York City and writing about food. And so that was really when I started thinking about it. And I started taking food science classes in college. And I also took a class, the other class that I think back to this has probably helped me the most in my career. I took a technical writing class. And one of the things we had to learn in technical writing was how to write a recipe. So I learned like the steps of how you write it, how the ingredients are supposed to be listed, the abbreviations that can be used, how you're supposed to lay out the format of the description of how to the process. So it's funny looking back at that technical writing was a required course for me. And I remember signing up and like rolling my eyes, like, why do I have to take this to learn how to write directions? And
But
man,
what
did
a
that help
great
my
skill.
career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, there are plenty of chefs and brilliant ones that we work with all the time that do not know how to write a recipe.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
they forget steps and they just say, "Oh, just, this is how it goes." And it takes
Uh-huh.
a little work to kind of get it into something
Yeah, yeah,
you could actually publish.
I've heard that from other people. You're not the only one who's told me
Yeah.
that.
You figure this out in college, and not long after college you married a rather famous musician. You married Billy Joel. And y'all were married for 5 or 6 years or
We
so,
were
right?
together 7 years, yeah.
7 years.
Yeah.
So did y'all connect over food?
He was very interested in food as well, and I moved to the Hamptons, where I am now, and this area is so, rich with great ingredients. And it's funny because it actually reminds me of where I'm from in the sense that it is a small town and it is based around farms, even though it's glitz and glamour. You can do that, or you can do the other side, which is kind of like my days are filled with going to farm stands and going to the beach and having a pretty casual life and cooking. But so when I came here, which was right after college, and I started working in a fish market, and it was here that I thought, well, let me try to start writing. And I got a column in Hamptons Magazine, and I was able to write about the food scene here. And this is where I started then pursuing my career and finding that, hey, I can actually make something out of this.
Well, and it seems like so much of what you've done, you can do anything. I mean, you can do any kind of recipe, but you seem to be really known for your comfort food recipes, and that's, kind of goes right back to your West Virginia roots. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I think whenever you're authentic to um, what feels like your true self, that's when you have success. So I love comfort food, and for me that isn't just like big heavy food. It's also really fresh, farm fresh. Like right before we sat down to do this interview, I went downstairs and I made myself a chicken salad and tomato sandwich. And I had bought this really good. There's a girl out here. It's called Big Fresh Bakery, and she's making whole wheat sourdough bread. So I sliced that, toasted it. And then I buy this chicken salad from the place called Round Swamp that makes the best chicken salad I've ever had in my life. And then I had from the farm a big, ripe, juicy tomato. So I did a thick slice of that, put salt on it, and then put it on that toasted sourdough with the chicken salad. And I was eating it thinking, like, gosh, is there anything better than this? So it's like, that's comfort food too. And then last night we had our neighbors over, and I made grilled tuna, and I cut corn off the cob and sauteed it in some butter. And we had another tomato salad. I basically turn into a tomato this time of year. It's like I multiple times a day have a tomato. So I did heirloom tomatoes and put some fresh herbs in there. I had an avocado in the fridge, so I put that in, and some cucumber, and then just a ton of vinegar and some extra virgin olive oil. And then I made a big salad as well. And it's like so simple. Nothing took more. I mean, the whole dinner I put together in about 20 minutes. And that's comfort food for me. It doesn't have to be, macaroni and cheese is comfort food too, but it doesn't always have to be like that big, heavy food.
Did you learn um, how to entertain from your mom or your grandmother, or was that something that you kind of just this sort of hospitality? It seems like it comes very naturally to you, but is that something you picked
Um,
up from them?
I think I learned the feeling of hospitality from the way that my grandma would make people feel when
Mhm.
they were in her house, of just feeling like we can relax and the etiquette police aren't coming out, and like everybody just have a good time. My mom, when I was in high school, entertained more, and she was in a club where it was a film club. And so each person each month would show a movie and have food and wine. And so when it would be my mom's month, I would always help her. I was like her caterer. So I started learning about appetizers and hors d'oeuvres and what to make and pairing with wine. So that was when I started to get interested in it. And then as an adult, I just really kind of gravitated towards entertaining. I loved having people over. I loved the experience. I will say, like here in the Hamptons, the parties sometimes can be a little over the top, and people can be a
Oh,
little
you think? Yeah.
snooty tooty.
Yeah.
And I did not connect with that. And so I thought, I got to do this my way. I want to socialize, but I want to do it in a relaxed manner. So I think that was kind of what pushed me towards entertaining, was wanting to hang out with my friends, but not having to feel like this needs to be formal.
Just do it on your own terms and your own style, and have people come over and relax, and yeah.
People just want to be comfortable. They're happy to be invited to your house. It doesn't have to be like some fancy schmance.
You've been on the kitchen for, as we said, 11 years now, and you've got so many people watching, and you've got like 1 million followers, I think, on Instagram, and you've got this big audience that you're reaching all the time. But, so much of what you're doing is you're in a studio, and you're not necessarily interacting with people, um, in person. But I'm wondering, what are some things that you hear from people when you do get the chance to do that? When you're doing an event, or you're just when you meet people that follow you and watch the show.
I love when I get to meet people who watch the kitchen. Sometimes I'll get a direct message from somebody and they'll say, I saw you at the grocery store today, but I didn't want to say anything. And I always write back and say hi next time, because you're right. Because we're in a studio, we don't have that face to face. And because so much of connection is social media, you're doing it through a device and not in person. So a couple of years ago, I co-founded a wine label called Kind of Wild, and I go out and do these wine tastings all the time now. So probably once or twice a month, I'll go to a wine store and I'll set up a table and I'll pour samples. And I love it because I get to connect with people and I get to talk in person. I get to hear about what people are making, if they tried a recipe that they like, or I can recommend to them a wine to serve with what they're making for dinner that evening. So for me, when I get the opportunity to do that, I really enjoy it. And we've done a lot of these wine tastings now, and it's really fun. And that's what food and wine's all about. It's about talking and connecting.
Well, you need to come do one of those in Birmingham.
I sure would like to.
We have to figure that out.
Yes.
Are you ready to do this rapid fire thing that we call the jam session?
I'd love to.
All right, biscuits or cornbread?
Biscuits. Although that's actually like not a fair question, because I love cornbread too.
Well, and you just made that cornbread sound so good a couple minutes ago.
Well, I like cornbread. You got to have some molasses and put a little pat of butter in it and smash up the butter with your fork and then dip your cornbread in that. But I'm a biscuit girl through and through. That's the first thing I ever learned how to cook, and it's my favorite always.
All right, red, white, or rosé?
Another hard one. It depends on what I'm eating. It depends on what we're cooking. So right now, if I'm making burgers, I'm going to have Pinot Noir with a slight chill on it because I love a chilled red wine in the summer. And we have a great one, Kind of Wild, from California. If I'm doing white, I am going for our Gruner Veltliner, which is made in Austria, and it's really bright and crisp. And I'm going to make a creamy zucchini pasta to have with that. And if I'm going rosé, which I drink a lot of our Kind of Wild rosé, I'm probably going to make something barbecue, like barbecue chicken, because the spice and the fruitiness of the wine really play well together.
Okay, so basically all three.
Yes, I am an equal opportunity wine drinker.
Okay, mountains or beach?
Beach. Even though I'm from Mountain Mama State, like we looked forward to our summer vacation at Myrtle Beach every year, and now I'm living at the beach and I love it.
Oh, Myrtle Beach. You went to Myrtle.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We
Oh.
always, my grandparents, they had a camper that we would take and go camping at Myrtle Beach.
Okay, that's a whole other story we got to get to sometime. All right, barbecue joint or seafood dive?
Ooh, man, these questions are just too hard, but I'm going to go seafood dive.
Other than The Kitchen, my favorite TV show about food and cooking is blank.
Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix. My husband produces that.
Okay, easy answer.
Yeah.
The best dog I've ever had was named blank.
Well, my guy Gus right now, I love Gus, but I had a soulmate dog, and that was Finola. Finola was my little black pug, and she lived to be 17 years old, and that dog, she was my soulmate.
What a great name.
Yeah. It's an Irish name. Yeah, Finola. I actually tattooed her name on my foot.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my idea of the perfect summer sandwich is blank.
Oh, cushy white bread, lots of mayonnaise, and a thick slice of the ripest, juiciest tomato with flaky sea salt.
Yeah, that's hard to beat, right?
That's all. I just want tomato sandwiches every day. I mean, today I put some chicken salad on it, but tomatoes where it's at.
It's all about the tomato.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I had to pick one desert island pantry item, it would be blank.
I guess beans. I love beans, and that would, keep you nice and strong and healthy.
Yeah, you can survive on those for a long time. And that's the West Virginia girl talking.
Yeah, exactly.
If I have a cooking Achilles heel, it's blank.
I don't like washing everything. Like, I love produce and I cook so much produce, but the washing part is my least favorite.
All right, last one. The most southern thing about me is blank.
The most southern thing about me is that I like to take to the bed. Put on a house dress and lay in bed and watch TV.
I love it. So, Katie, you've got a new movie coming out on the Hallmark Channel that I believe you wrote and produced, and I think you have a cameo or you're starring in it.
Yes, I have a little part.
It's called Catch of the Day. And this must be exciting for you. So tell me a little bit about, what this meant to you and what was the highlight of making it.
I'm so excited about Catch of the Day. It comes out August 30th. And I had done one movie with Hallmark, Groundswell, which was based on my novel, but I didn't write that one. And I always really wanted to write a movie. So a few weeks after Groundswell came out, I was reading an article in the New York Times about Montauk, which is a small town at the end of Long Island. It was a commercial fishing town that's it's changed a lot in the 20 years that I've been here. Now it's trendy places, clubs, and it's just it's a different town. I don't recognize it from what it used to be. But I read this article about how so many of the mom and pop shops have been driven out, but that millennials were moving back to take over their family businesses to save their businesses from developers. So I started thinking about this one restaurant that I always loved called Dave's Grill. It was my number one restaurant, and they were pushed out of their space by a landlord wanting more money. So I was thinking about Dave's Grill. I was thinking about this town that's changed so much, and thinking about all over America how mom and pop businesses are getting pushed out. And so I came up with the idea for Catch of the Day that is about a young woman named Sophie Monahan. She grew up in Montauk in her parents' restaurant. Her dad had a restaurant, and she left and moved to New York City and worked in a really fancy restaurant. Her father passed away, her sister took over, and she gets a call from her sister the night that they get their 4-star review saying, "You've got to come home. You are the last chance for our restaurant." So Sophie goes home reluctantly. And of course, she reconnects with her high school crush. His name's Cam Easton.
What do you know? Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so it's a love story. It's a family story about the sisters dynamic. And it's also a story of what I think is happening all over the country with small businesses. So I'm really excited about it. I co-wrote it with Andrea Canning, if you know her from Dateline. Hallmark made the movie, and I'm just super excited about it. And I got to be in it. I have a part. I play a food blogger, and we filmed it last September. And so I can't wait for everybody to see it.
Oh, that's great. That's very exciting, and it sounds like it could very easily just have been set in the South too, because there's so much of that happening in this part of the world.
Many of the communities that are based on tourism, I think that really is a struggle, staying open all year long. And then more and more of these developers just come in and take over.
Well, that's very exciting about the movie, and congrats, and hope you're going to have a fun preview party or something.
I need to invite some friends over.
So, Katie, I want to ask you about a recipe or two, and there's one that jumped out at me. A few months ago, you made something called, I think it was sweet tea oven fried chicken.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And it caught my attention because you said that your grandmother used to make a version of this. And it seems like it was a hit on the show. So tell me about that recipe and what kind of inspired it.
Yeah, this is actually my husband's favorite thing that I make.
Oh, it is.
So yeah, so she would make oven fried chicken, and basically it's just she would do it in a big Pyrex dish, and you put a stick of butter in the dish, and you put it in the oven and let the butter melt. And in the meantime, she would use a brown paper bag filled with flour and shake it up, and then you put the chicken skin side down on that butter and put it back in, and then flip it. So it kind of fries in the butter, but also it's the chicken fat renders from the skin and fries itself in the oven. So I thought, why not brine the chicken first to give it even more flavor? So I brine it in sweet tea overnight, or 4 hours really will give you enough, but overnight's better. And then it gets like this wonderful hint of sweetness to it. It's so good. And it's such an easy recipe. Everybody goes nuts for it.
Well, and if they've had other recipes of yours, that's saying something. So there's a bunch of salt, I'm guessing, as well in the brine. I mean, that's the point of the brine, no?
So what I do, because I didn't want to have to heat up the sweet tea to add the salt for the salt to dissolve.
Oh, interesting.
And then have to cool it again, because I felt like that was just too many steps. So I put soy sauce in the sweet tea. So that gives the saltiness, but it also gives like this umami.
Yeah.
And so it just adds so much more flavor, and it cuts out the step of having to heat up the tea to dissolve the salt.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's good. It's a good one.
Well, it looked good. I can tell you that.
Thank you. I mean, people think it's fried. It gets all nice and crispy and brown.
Yeah. So it's even maybe a little healthier.
Yes. Yes.
A little bit. Another one. So you mentioned this is your husband Ryan's favorite, but there's another one called engagement chicken that you, I think you did on the show, and seems to have gotten.
Oh, the Marry Me chicken.
Oh, is it Marry Me chicken?
Marry Me chicken. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so that one seems like that had some kind of magical powers to it as well.
Yes, the Marry Me chicken's great. So that you make a sun-dried tomato sauce and cook the chicken in it and do it with pasta. I actually just made it last week. I just posted it on my Instagram. I did Marry Me shrimp. So I thought for summertime, why not try the same technique, but with the shrimp? So you make this creamy sun-dried tomato sauce and cook the shrimp in it, and it was fabulous.
Oh, that
He
sounds good
loved it.
too.
Yeah, he loves sun-dried tomatoes.
You're cooking for another person as well these days, which is your daughter.
Yes, she's my biggest critic.
So, yeah, I'm curious about like, is she, I'm sure that you want her to develop a real appreciation for food and cooking, um, and to share some of the, joy that you've gotten out of it. How's that going? I mean, is she developing a real kind of palate or
There are some things like she's thrilled to eat, and I feel real proud of her. And then she still gives me a hard time on vegetables. Like I get tortured. Like if that kid ever eats broccoli, I will do a dance. I'd be so happy. And meanwhile, like I love vegetables so much. But she loves helping me cook. So I let her help me as much as possible. And Ryan has a small garden and she really likes helping him in the garden. Um, I got her one of those kids' knives that's a safer knife. And when I'm cooking, a lot of times what she likes to do is for me to give her ingredients that I'm using in a big bowl, and she cuts them up and she puts them all in the bowl. And it's kind of like she's making her own concoction. And I give her a little thing of salt and I give her the pepper grinder and maybe some vinegar. And she's like pouring it all together and just making a mishmash. And on one hand, I think like, oh, I'm kind of wasting these ingredients. But then on the other hand, she's enjoying herself. And if it gets her interested in food, I'm here for it.
yeah, I love that. And her name's Iris, which is such a pretty name.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm crazy about her. She's just the light of our life.
Oh, I mean, of course. And but she's got a long way to go. She's only what? She's 5 or 6
She'll be
or
5 in September.
okay,
Yeah.
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 Very
Yeah.
early in her cooking journey.
She is.
So does she have a connection to West Virginia? I mean, is that something that you've been able to foster?
Yeah, I've been taking her. We usually go about twice a year to see my mom, and she loves going to see her Grammy. And we've taken her a couple times to the Greenbrier in West Virginia, which I think is a really special place there, old hotel. And we like going there around Christmas. And so she enjoys that. Um, and I love taking her home and taking her to see where I grew up and see my friends that are there. My best friend that I've had since actually we met at Library Story Hour when we were 4 years old. She's still there. So to see my friend Alicia and her little girl Josie and let them know each other. And I think that's really important.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, Katie, I just have one more question for you.
Okay.
What does it mean to you to be Southern?
Gosh, that's a good question. It's funny. I never thought about myself being Southern until I left. And when I left West Virginia, I realized that we had a different culture and that I was Southern. And I just think of Southern people as caring about their neighbors and having a sense of community. And I have a real deep connection to where I'm from, and I love it. And I hope that I would really like to spend more time in West Virginia. I'd like to go back more, and we can't ever forget where we came from.
Well, especially in the fall, it's such an incredible place. I mean, just that, it seems like that entire state is just kind of lit up with
It
all
is.
the color.
West Virginia is the most underrated state in America. People got to get there more and see it. What a great place to go on a trip. And people don't realize that. Some of the best whitewater rafting in the world, hiking, and just good people. And I'd say another thing for me that means to be Southern is absolutely the food. I think that it's some of the best food in America. And I just love it.
That's the truth. Well, Katie Lee Biegel, thanks so much for
Thank
being
you,
on Biscuits and
Sid.
Jam.
Thank you. Great to see you.
You too.